Hey everyone, Nolan Wheeler here with Sync, another episode of Modern Work Mondays. I am your host, and with me, as always, I have my co-host,
Jeff Strasser, Microsoft. Good to see you, Nolan.
Buddy. How are we doing?
Doing well.
Good. Well, I'm going to talk about a topic that for me brings me a little bit of pain and agony at times, but let's talk about build versus buy. So we have a lot of cool applications that solve a lot of frontline worker use cases. And sometimes your customer is your biggest competitor. They want to and think they can build these things. And sometimes the building at the very beginning, that's all we like to take a look at. We don't look at all those long-term costs, but I think you might even be more passionate about build versus buy than I am. So let me turn the floor to you.
Yeah, this could be a long one, but I'll keep it tight. This is a hot button item for me because what we see happening, and this is across so many different types of tools. It's the world you live in kind of enabling store and frontline tools and applications and experiences. But even more broadly in my world, like across the AI landscape, there's a lot of organizations that have large engineering resources and investment, and many that have smaller. And it's interesting because we see the smaller organizations that maybe don't have large teams of developers and data scientists and things of that nature moving faster in realizing value, in this case in ROI, but even in solutions like yours in stores, because they go find something that meets a need where that addresses the business pain point or the opportunity, and find something that meets that need. There's always some customization and things that go along with that, and quickly deploy and integrate and realize value in return. On the flip side, we see a lot of organizations have really broad engineering resources. They get really excited from a technology perspective and go spin up tons of resources and spend typically years building something. And ultimately, the ability to deliver the same set of experiences with the same quality, the same governance and compliance and industry, regulatory compliance and standards can't be done at the same rate and quality and ultimately cost that can compete with any big professional software organization that does this for a living, right? And the strategy we try to really discuss with clients is, hey, go take things that are out there at scale, right? Whether it's Microsoft or any of our competitors that are building these tools, like we're doing it at such a massive scale that the pace of innovation and the ability to run these things at scale brings the price down and the quality up and the extensibility up. And go focus the engineering resources you have on your differentiators as a business, right? If you're in the food business, like instead of building a frontline platform or application or an AI platform or application for your corporate employees, take something that's there that meets all your requirements from a security and a governance and integrates with the platforms you use, and go extend it and build on it with the things that differentiate you, right? Whether that's your supply chain or your merchandising strategies or your pricing strategies or how you run tasks in stores with your special sauce in labor and scheduling or whatever it may be. But it rarely doesn't make sense to kind of reinvent these tools people are building at scale. It's why you don't see people building their own operating systems. It's why you don't see people even building their own data centers that often. Like, yes, there are reasons to run first party data centers, but for the most part, most things have moved to the cloud because the scale of the hyperscalers, the costs and the infrastructure and the management of those things and the software licensing costs, like it's very difficult to match. And so you wouldn't go build your own car typically because the auto manufacturers do it at more scale with higher quality. It's what they do for a living. Like go customize your car and make it yours the last 5%. And I think it's the same way in this case. Like really identify what makes your business unique, and where if you put more resource behind it, you can extend beyond what your competitors are doing and how you go to market and how you engage with their customers and all those sorts of things, as opposed to rebuilding the base platform, which doesn't make a tremendous amount of success. Early on, when new technologies launch, become available, like it's great to jump in and prototype and learn. Like those learnings are super important. But again, back to that data center example, like just like where, everybody had, because it was the only option, to go build your own data centers. But at a point, like, there was a crossover where it no longer made financial sense to do that, either in how you ran it today or the pace that things were moving, where you wouldn't be able to keep up, right? Can you imagine like every enterprise now trying to go procure GPUs from NVIDIA and the costs associated in doing that? Like, it would never make sense. And so, yeah, slightly passionate about the conversation, really want to see all of our clients accelerate their businesses and not reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, I like the car analogy. It's like it could be the car, it could be the golf cart, or it could be like the RC car. Like, it doesn't make sense to build your own of any of those. So yeah, I like that analogy. I mean, the good thing that I've heard, and we've heard this actually from customers who've got a pretty historical track record on building, is that they're now saying and acknowledging, we're actually going to do less building. We're going to do more buying. And I think probably it is the AI and the pace in which this is all evolving, which is driving a lot of that. But we are hearing from the market, from traditional buy or build houses, that they're very much made the decision that they're going to start being more of a buy shop.
I've seen it as well, and I think two things are driving that. One is, there has been pressure on labor and the workforces. Like, unfortunately, there have been, organizations that have had to downsize because of the economy and tariffs and, all sorts of things impacting the top line or margin. And, where does the cost come out of the business? Unfortunately, sometimes that comes out of people, and sometimes that comes out of engineering and technology resources when you're a retailer or a CPG. The other piece of that is, I think over recent years, especially early days of AI, everybody jumped in to go start building things, and there's a lot of sunk costs, both from a dollar standpoint and kind of a sense of ownership standpoint.
Yeah, great point.
That people have a hard time moving on from, and realizing, hey, these are really important learnings, but maybe it's not the long term the right play. Just back to the data center analogy, like, there are probably organizations that could have moved faster or should have in hindsight, but had had so much sunk cost that it maybe didn't make sense. That's a little bit different because it's probably a capital expense versus OpEx, so it probably makes a little bit more sense back then. But there's so much sunk cost that sometimes it takes like leadership turnover to say, hey, like, this doesn't seem like the right decision anymore. So maybe we think about how we use our resources differently to go, again, kind of impact the business, differentiate ourselves, and so on. So I'm also seeing that, but takes a little bit of time to get there. But the pace of development is so fast. Like, unless this is your sole mission and focus, it's probably not the best idea to do it. And you see this even with a lot of technology companies, like, who are focusing their mission and focus on a smaller set of things versus trying to do everything. Because if you try to do everything, you do nothing really well. And if you focus your time and money and your people on the thing that's most important, like, that'll really shine.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll probably close out my side of this house by saying, we get exposure to like what a grocery likes, or a grocer likes, pardon me, or what DIY is doing or what apparel is doing. And when you get those little snippets, you end up actually getting a better holistic picture of what customer help and customer genesis tasks look like. Whereas when you're just doing it for your banner, it's like that expression, right? It's hard to read the label from inside the bottle. So, I mean, I think a lot of it as well is like, once you kind of get some tribal knowledge outside of that one area of expertise within the vertical, then all of a sudden you can start extrapolating and pulling out what works at grocery and go, you know what, actually there's a space for a grocery solution in DIY, but the DIY guy or gal might not have stumbled upon it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Cool. All right, buddy. Well, I'll see you next Monday for another one of these Modern Work Mondays.
Sounds great.
See you, bud.